Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to associate myself with the comments made by my colleague, Senator Durbin, and others on the Democratic side on why we are here for the fourth time to go over ground already covered, particularly by Inspector General Horowitz' 434-page report. And the witness was asked questions about text messages between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, when it is clear that they did not impact the validity of the Russia investigation. And yet, when we have real facts about national security concerns, such as President Trump calling the president of Ukraine to shake him down to help his re-election campaign, my Republican colleagues don't think that's a big deal. Now, I can understand why President Trump wanted to get dirt on his potential political opponent, especially as Joe Biden, in fact, defeated President Trump decisively, a fact that many of my Republican colleagues have yet to be able to acknowledge. And so we are here for the fourth time for many more hours of hearings on grounds that we've already covered instead of dealing with the real questions of the day. So for this witness, you were asked by Senator Blumenthal about the recognized danger of white supremacists, and I just want to reiterate, because I think it is very important for our country to understand the dangers posed by these persons. So in September 2020, FBI Director Wray warned that white supremacy is one of the biggest domestic terrorism threats. News reports around the same time also indicated that the Department of Homeland Security had reached a similar conclusion that white supremacists are the deadliest domestic terror threat facing the country. I'd like to ask you again, given your extensive experience in counterterrorism issues, do you believe that the threat posed by white supremacists is a serious concern?
Well, Senator, I know that it is a serious concern, and I certainly take Director Wray's assessment that it is the most serious concern on the counterterrorism side that we face right now. It makes a lot of sense in light of the fact that as our foreign terrorist targets appear to be in a state of less organization, and their operational activity and recruitment in this country seems to have tailed off a bit. I don't have any access to the classified information, but certainly seems that way. There's no question in that the domestic terrorist scene has not tailed off. If anything, it has increased over the last few years.
And you indicated that the kind of words used by the president simply seems to fan those flames of domestic terrorism activities.
That's correct.
I believe you responded that way.
Yes.
Before the election, President Trump and Attorney General Bill Barr repeatedly made false claims of mail-in voter fraud. In September 2020, FBI Director Wray testified before the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee that, and quote, "We have not seen historically any kind of coordinated national voter fraud effort in a major election, whether it's by mail or otherwise. Now that millions of Americans have voted without evidence of fraud, President Trump and the Republicans have refused to recognize the results of the election. And instead, they have gone to court many times at this point, losing pretty much I think they've lost every single one of these voter fraud cases to prevent validly cast votes from being counted. And President Trump continues to falsely claim that he has won the election with absolutely no evidence. Given your extensive experience at the FBI, are you aware of any evidence indicating that widespread mail-in voter fraud is a problem in our country?
I'm not aware of any information to that effect. Director Wray's assessment is consistent with my own experience in the FBI, that I've never seen information that would substantiate a widespread effort at voter fraud.
And while my Republican colleagues are very busy talking about how the president has a right to go to court, that still puts a burden proving that there is actual fraud on him. And so far, he's been losing at every turn. So just because one has a right to go to court does not make it right to go to court. And one would hope that the president would have figured that out by now, but apparently not. When you mentioned in your opening that it was an honor and a privilege to work for the FBI, there are concerns for many of us about the politicizing of the FBI and DOJ. And since taking office, President Trump has repeatedly called on the Justice Department, i.e., at as many rallies where they chant, lock her up or lock him up or whatever it is, to investigate his political opponents, and leaned on Attorney General Barr to treat his allies more favorably. For example, under Attorney General Barr, the Justice Department reversed the sentencing recommendation for Trump ally Roger Stone, prompting all 4 career prosecutors to withdraw from the case and protest. You have served for 21 years at the FBI. In your memory, before President Trump, how many times has a president called for the investigation or arrest of political opponents to aid him in his reelection campaign?
I've never, not in my experience, I've never seen that before.
In June 2022, Justice Department career lawyers testified. They actually testified before the House about how Trump political appointees intervened in criminal and antitrust cases to advance the personal interests of President Trump. What do you think it says about the severity of the politicizing of the Justice Department that 2 career DOJ lawyers came forward to testify about it before Congress, and all 4 career prosecutors made the extraordinary move of withdrawing from the Roger Stone case?
As I've said, Senator, career prosecutors don't walk away from cases that they believe in and cases that they've spent a lot of time and effort trying to move forward. So when you have any member of the Department of Justice who feels compelled to resign from a case or from the department for ethical reasons, that's a very concerning thing. When you have 4 on one case resign, I think it's the sort of thing that we can't possibly ignore.
It's quite extraordinary. And I would like at this point to commend all of the career DOJ people, including, of course, all the people at the FBI, for doing the jobs that they're supposed to be doing and not making political decisions. Now, we know that hate crimes against the AAPI community has gone up, and especially with the president calling the virus the China virus, the Wuhan virus, and members of his administration have also referred to it as Kung flu. So there has been documented increase in hate crimes against AAPI communities. Given your extensive experience at the FBI, do you think the FBI and Justice Department are doing enough to address hate crimes in our country, including against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders? And do you know of any prosecution by the DOJ on any of these hate crimes?
I'm not aware of recent prosecutions of hate crimes. Again, I don't have access to all of the information that the FBI or DOJ has, and so I can't speak to whether they're doing that work or not. It certainly seems that those sort of incidents, just from what I hear in open source reporting, seem to be on the rise, and I would expect that the Bureau and DOJ should be looking at those things very closely.
I should hope so, because so far I don't know of any indictments coming down on these kinds of cases. I believe my time is up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. McCabe.
Thank you very much, Senator.